The inspiration for today's reading comes from synchronicity. I had been seeing references to the horned god for a couple of days now. I've had these references come up before, but I never felt called to really dive into the history or the lore, the mythology, and the beliefs around the horned god. But today, another reference came up in the form of a YouTube video, and I hesitated over it, which I don't often do. Usually my intuition will tell me yes or no to something very, very clearly. And this time I hesitated over it. And just as I was about to scroll past, a crow from outside my window cawed loudly. Now that might not seem like a significant thing, but the fact that it crowed and I actually heard it was significant because I live in a basement and the window is quite low down. I don't hear birds ever that I can recall. So I sat there thinking about that. I let that marinate for a bit. And then as soon as I clicked on the video, a second caw rung out. And I knew it was a deep, deep confirmation. I felt it in my bones. And what are horns if not bones? External bones. So that's what we'll be looking at today. And before you jump into your reading, if you feel so called, I am going to provide a little bit of a synopsis, just reading straight off of Google, but for those of you who don't feel like Googling it for yourself, or you don't know who the horned god is, this I will leave here for you. The horned god is a significant deity in neo-paganism, especially Wicca, representing nature, fertility, the wild, and the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. The horned god embodies masculine energy, often paired with a goddess, and is associated with seasonal cycles, representing primal energies and the untamed aspects of nature. Origins and historical figures include Cernunnos, a Celtic god depicted with stag antlers, a torque necklace, and sometimes a snake, symbolizing wildness, prosperity, and the balance between civilization and nature. Pan, the Greek god of the wild, shepherds and flocks with the legs and horns of a goat, representing rustic nature and primal instinct, is also associated with the horned god. The horned god's modern neo-pagan and Wiccan role. Ruler of the cycles of life, he dies and is reborn annually with the seasons, mirroring the wheel of the year, often associated with the winter solstice, death and rebirth, and Beltane for fertility. He represents the masculine principle. He is the consort of the great goddess, representing masculine energy, virility, and the hunt. His symbolism includes antlers, horns, the green man, and imagery blending various ancient horned figures, linking him to the forest, animals, and raw nature. So if you've made your selection of the cards, go ahead and see what the reading holds for you from the horned god. All right, hi group number 1. Welcome to your reading. You were drawn to the King of Wands. So he looks very similar to the horned god, but what really stood out to me was this little scorpion on his hand. And this feels to me like it's connected to the sign of Scorpio. Now, you don't have to be a Scorpio, but I would advise looking at the area of your chart, your natal chart, that Scorpio resides, the archetype of Scorpio itself, and or the 8th house, because Scorpio rules that house. This feels to me like the merging of fire and water. And even though Scorpio is a water sign, it feels the most fiery to me of the water signs, if that makes sense. And there's been a lot of messages coming through lately in many of the readings that I've done here and on my other channel relating to fire and water. And I'm hearing alchemy. So the horned god is bringing you, I'm hearing feather and dust, something about light things, things of light, beings of light, dust to dust, ashes to ashes. What is resulting from the fire? The ashes. And there's alchemy in the fire. I'm hearing the red stage. That would be the reddening. You can check out my previous reading, The Stages of Alchemy, if you're curious about what that is or want a message regarding that as well. if you haven't seen it already. I'll try to remember to link it in the description box below. But the reddening is the full embodiment. It comes after the integration of citrinitis. And it helps us to live in our embodied truth, the integration of the wisdom that we came through and that was hard won out of the previous stages and cycles of awakening and consciousness. I'm hearing consciousness rehabilitation. So there's a reformation, a transmutation, a complete alchemical overhaul. And the Horned God is helping you to get back to your base nature, to connect with the cycles of life and death. And the fall, I'm hearing the fall. The fall season could be significant, or you could be inquiring into the fall of consciousness and where it becomes subjugated under pressure of physicality, where consciousness becomes consumed by embodiment in a negative sense. Shadow work is coming through. This is part of alchemy. And it feels like the archetype of Scorpio is also calling you home on that front, to investigate these parts of yourself, to inquire further down, deeper into those roots, the root chakra, the sacral bone, the sacrum, the sacred bone, the sacrum, at the base of the spine, the tailbone, your ancestral wisdom, your ancestral roots, your energetic fire is being ignited and embodied. And the Horned God, in his earthly wisdom, is calling you to investigate that, the archetype of the Horned God that lives within you. It's not an external being. It is an aspect of yourself that is calling you to question, to inquire, and to go further down, deeper into, I'm hearing catacombs of the soul. Interesting. Okay, the catacombs of the soul, catacombs being like tombs, death. Where have things burnt too low and they need to be reignited? Where have they burned too strongly and become devastating in their path, turning all to ash? Where does temperance need to be allowed to exist in your life for this rebirth to occur? The mixing and the tempering of these two opposing or seemingly opposing forces seem to be the main call to action. And I just got shown a man blowing a horn, and it was like a signal call, loud and distant, but it came nonetheless. This feels like the call of your soul. It is loud, it is distant, but you hear it echoing nonetheless, and it is calling you into action. It is calling your fire to reignite, your passion to live through you, your awareness and consciousness to be embodied fully and anchored into your physical state. This is the necessary means to an end, an action that is required for your rehabilitation. What are you being rehabilitated from? I don't know. What are you being rehabilitated into? I don't know. But the rehabilitation is there nonetheless. The reformation, like clay, being shaped into a different form. What once was will be utilized differently. What energy you had is now being put towards the manifestation of something different, the alteration of something that already exists, and the reignition of other energy that was dormant. Sitting on the tailbone is coming up as well. Breathing meditations while doing plant-based medicine, I just heard. Okay, so this is not going to be for everyone, but this is channeling through plant-based medicine, whatever that might mean for you. The Horned God rules nature. I mentioned that in the description of the horned god in the intro. And I'm hearing the word addendum as an addendum. That's what's coming through. And I'm being shown the addendum of the lower aspect of the root chakra, the purging of the sacral. I'm also hearing sacral would be water elemental energy and root chakra is earth, but the fire is purging, cleansing, and purifying these two areas. Reignition of the spirit. Reignition of the spirit. You could be turning up your bass frequency quite loudly. And there's a feeling of dominance that I'm getting as well. Something about practices and subtle forces, using the subtle forces, practicing using the subtle forces, and how this will shape your will into a form that you will be able to see as destiny in your life. Why? Because you created it. Manna from heaven. You manifested this in the ability to be connected to this state of being. And there is a flow to this that I'm sensing, like a flow state of being. So a sense of presence and breath work connecting to the body, plant medicine or plant matter connecting to the body, connecting to the roots. And something about tribal history is also coming through. Tribal history, ancestral roots. As far back as you can go, tracing the lineage, not necessarily through something like Ancestry.com, but more so through your own DNA tree of life. And meditation will give you access to that. If you ask, you'll receive. You need only ask. What you're needing to know will be brought to you, but it may not be brought in the way that you once required, because this new level of embodied consciousness is for you very physical. And so the knowing may not come in the form of a thought or a vision or the whisper of an angel in your ear. You might instead feel this somatically through your root, through your body, within your force field. Not needing to say a word, just needing to feel it. That is what is going to heal it. And this is what I'm being shown about the reformation and the rehabilitation. This is lifetimes worth of ancestral memory. I'm also being shown magma and karma. And it's been below the surface. Magma is below the surface of the volcano. The pressure underneath there has great force behind it when it's built up enough. But it can also be quite destructive if it's not done well. And this is why doing any kind of Kundalini work is not advised without knowing exactly what you are doing and having some kind of guidance. But there is a welcoming that I'm being shown, a welcoming of new energy. And it's not I'm hearing blast from the past, blast from the past. But I was going to say, it's not like it is this massive shoot through the roof type of energy from the Kundalini rising. This feels more subtle, although it can be just as intense. Just as intense. So sit with it and allow yourself to breathe into the base of your spine. Because the horned god is awakening something in you that has manifested over lifetimes and has become a part of your body and flesh. And therefore, when you touch that with the flames of this transmutative power, you are better able to make amends with what needs to be healed, to release what was forgotten, to remember what was flagged as necessary, and to move out of the way blocks that once inhibited your progression. All right, I'm being drawn actually over to the Animal Spirit deck. So we'll get one of those as well. The turtle in reverse. Okay. Ancient soul, grounded, trusting, at home in the self. It is wonderful to be in the presence of a turtle personality. Like the beaver, the turtle has a strong relationship with the earth and water elements simultaneously. This helps to ground and connect them to the deeper truths of life. No matter where their travels lead them, turtle energy is behind all great writers and storytellers as they collect life experiences under their shells for later use. The most potent turtle energy helps us close all other books and begin to tell our own true tale. When in balance, it is peaceful, adventurous, and productive. When out of balance, it slows down to a halt. To bring it into balance, an adventure. An unexpected journey, if you will. The Horned God is helping you to become vigilant, vigilant in your energy, protective of this power, and responsible with the wielding of it as you allow yourself to progress, as you become unstuck and unbound from the tests of time that came before you, that your ancestors bore on their shoulders and were transferred to you genetically. This is your test, your trial, your tribulation, but it is also your greatest blessing and boon, for it is giving you the found and lived experience of the embodied consciousness. This is where you are becoming your true self. So, off on your adventure you go, my friend. May it go well. And go with my blessings. And clearly, the blessings of the Horned God. That's what I have for you today, group number 1. If you feel called to another card or group, feel free to please join us there. If not, we'll see you in another reading. Thanks so much. Bye. All right, hi group number 2. You chose the Devil card, and I included this one because sometimes the Horned God is associated with Satan or the devil, but this was mostly because of Christianity and its rejection of pagan naturalistic beliefs. So I wanted to select this card because it felt somehow like that needed to be mentioned. And even though the Horned God is technically a masculine god, in this particular Devil card, the image is of a woman, a female deity, the Horned God does have a feminine counterpart. And so I feel like that's significant to this message, especially since the Devil card does mirror the Lover's card in many ways, as we can see the two people chained in the image here. So a message about healing is coming through. Healing the heart and connection to the body. Connection to natural principles of healing of the body. Emotional connection is coming through strongly as well. I'm being shown something about a mission statement and the Horned God wanting you to identify your mission statement in romantic situations, in love, and in regard to some previous conditioning of the heart, to look at what the mission statement is and to reflect on whether this is a good mirror. Now I'm being shown a well and a silver spoon, And that well of emotion, or that wellspring within the self, those waters of life needing to be purified in some way. So there is some level of toxicity here. And the silver spoon, which can have references to privilege, but I'm actually hearing poverty and something about poverty consciousness in regard to matters of love and the heart. And the silver here in this context feels to me more like purification than privilege. So it feels like you're meant to dip that silver spoon into the well to purify it. But it's also interesting to me because the spoon is not a big vessel to consume enough water. So if the water in the well represents love, and that love has become in some way toxic, not only is the spoon meant to purify it, but I feel like you need a bigger vessel once that has been done. And I'm hearing being fed, and yes, the spoon can imply being fed, especially by another person, as usually we start out this life being fed with spoons as children. I'm hearing the phrase shaping up and something shaking out. And these both refer to, I'm hearing principles of release. Okay, so shaking things out. But I was going to say that they're reminding me of outcomes. How something shapes up or shakes out could refer to the outcome that it has. And I'm being brought back to that message about the mission statement and needing to identify what your mission statement is around love. What will you accept? What do you deny? Where have you denied this within yourself? How can you give yourself a better quality of love? How can you purify the wells of emotion in your heart to better allow that love to be given and received? But then I also heard the words subsumed and consumed, and it feels like in some ways emotion has consumed you, or because of the toxic nature of those distorted love templates or conditioning, it has become difficult for you. I'm hearing codependency, okay, I just have to say it. It has become difficult for you to connect authentically in a way that really bridges the gap between you and another, and identifying where this is occurring within yourself is going to be very helpful. So mental and emotional conditioning are being brought up here by the Horned God to help you to heal these aspects that have been chained in some way, and instead to turn those chains into something that helps to stabilize you amidst consumption or amidst, because I'm being shown somebody crawling out of the well using that chain. So instead of having it bind you or constrict you, you're using it almost like a ladder to get out of that toxic well and then to purify that from the ground up. So root chakra, sacral chakra, and heart chakra seem to be core themes here. The root is our sense of belonging, our physicality, and our initial imprints when it comes to family and connections. Sacral chakra has to do with emotional bonding, sensing, feeling, and connecting in that way, and it can have to do with sexual energy as well. And the heart chakra is primarily focused on relational love and the experience of giving and receiving that love unconditionally. So these are the realms to look at your practices and see where some of the actions or behaviors are not coming from that core mission statement, whatever it happens to be for you. And if you don't have a mission statement around love, take a look at that as it's being advised by the Horned God to see what it is that you're looking to get or what you're looking to achieve, not to get, but to achieve. What are you trying to do when it comes to love? And then how are your behaviors and actions reflective of that or not? Where is that coming from a pure place, and where is it coming from some level of distortion, whatever that looks like? Peace and prosperity is coming through as well. So peace and prosperity do feel like they are available to you, but there's some level of difficulty in allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to access those things, because it feels to me like there's some kind of a limitation, like you're so thirsty, but all you have is a spoon to drink from this well, and it's not long enough to reach down into the well. And then at other times, it's like you've fallen into the well and there's nothing to grab onto, and now you were so thirsty that you tried to get down there, and instead now you're drowning in it. So there's a certain level of extremes here, and that's what the Devil card can talk about as well, as extremes of duality and polarity, and how these present in our nature, in our physicality, in our conditioning, in our actions, behaviors, responses, desires, all of those things, and the driving needs behind those things. The driving needs. So taking a look at those core needs is going to be very helpful. And the Horned God is walking you through that. He is guiding the way, especially in regard to the balancing of masculine and feminine principles within the self. So being able to identify what those look like, and I'm hearing shake out again, and maybe shaking that out of your nervous system, any false imprints or distorted themes around the masculine and the feminine. So looking at the light and shadow aspects of the masculine and the feminine is going to be helpful here, and identifying any areas where you're operating from those lower dimensional density expressions of those individual archetypes. So think anima and animus in psychological theory and integration. There's also something about an alchemical bond coming through as well, an alchemical bond. And I'm hearing the word transfusion. Something about the blood that's pumping through the body. Oh, right, a blood transfusion would be taking the blood out and replacing it with something else. And that's usually when there's something wrong, like the blood has become toxic in some way. So I'm seeing the connection between the well and that theme of the toxic water, or that life blood, that life-giving source, and how something within that has become toxic. So, I'm being guided to share my own story and my own history, which I don't really often like to do, but it takes courage to be vulnerable, and I will show up for you guys if that's what helps you heal. I have a long history of fearful avoidant attachment based on my upbringing, and this led to a lot of difficult relationship patterns, swinging wildly between codependency with toxic partners, trauma bonding, and compulsive disconnection from myself and seeking of connection outside of me with the entirely wrong people. And that not only manifested in the realms of romantic partners and relationships, but also in friendships and even in work situations as well. So I really had to stop and look at that. And when I identified what the patterns were, what the themes were, and where I was not meeting those needs for myself, and what I needed to learn and what I needed to actively do to be able to heal those things, that was when the pressure started to alleviate, and I started practicing and being open and willing to continue practicing. And it is a lifelong thing that I will continue to have to do to better the relationship with myself, to build trust with myself, to trust myself physically, emotionally, to create and build that secure attachment with myself. And so it did take years, but I am very proud to say that those old patterns no longer have the same hold over my heart and my life and the behaviors that I exhibited that they did many years ago. So there is definitely hope for healing to occur. And the Horned God, in some ways, for some reason, has decided that this is the area that they would like to help shape things in a new way. And this transfusion feels like an alchemical transformation. This transformation allows you to release a lot of the emotional weight and density that was weighing you down. And that burden seems to fall away, or feels like it's falling away, so that you can move upward frequency-wise into a higher state of love. Now, this starts with self-appreciation. It starts with self-acceptance. It starts with giving yourself permission to love yourself, because what I found was that when I would attach to other people outside of me to provide anything, especially love, not only did I become dependent on that, and it became very conditional, and I lost my own integrity and my sense of self and my authenticity and my own authority, my own power. I gave that up, and that's what the devil represents as well. It's giving away our power. And I did that unconsciously, but in some ways willingly, because I was doing this exchange for the love that I perceived I could not create for myself or give to myself. And so it was only through refreshing my own inner emotional well and learning to, build myself a rope and bucket to be able to access those emotions. And also, if I ever fell in the well, to be able to swim or float and to get out of it as needed. So there was a very long process of learning to work with the emotional integrity and the emotional fluctuations that occurred, and how to better nurture myself through those, how to better show up for myself through those, and how that greatly benefited me in attracting a partner who mirrors that as well, who really shows up for me and is healing. So damage can occur, trauma can occur in relationships, but the healing can also occur in relationships. It needs to be the right ones for the right reasons. And I'm hearing the sky's the limit. So there's no limit to how much healing can occur when we're in a position to authentically connect and love and be loved unconditionally, or as unconditionally as humanly possible. But again, that really does start with the self. We have to form that template within. Otherwise, we will sacrifice and we will overstep our own boundaries, and we will become consumed by that seeking of external validation, love, consolation, etc. And it will never ever be enough. And what we do get will be toxic. So that's the first place to start if this is a pattern that you're seeing within yourself or feeling emotionally. It doesn't have to be in love per se, but that is definitely a theme here that I'm seeing, a core theme. Okay. Let's go ahead and get one animal guidance card for you. You have the hawk. Wow. Okay, so the hawk is watchful, all-seeing, and a messenger of divinity. The sharp eyes of the hawk watch our every move. This keen-eyed bird has the ability to see every little detail as well as the bigger picture. When this card appears, fate has its eyes on you, and the winds are shifting. It is said that the hawk carries news upon its wings and is sent from divinity itself to deliver it. The message should not be taken lightly. Though it may seem small or insignificant, it will eventually redirect your course. When in balance, the hawk sees clearly and is intuitive. When out of balance, it sees too much and becomes suspicious. To bring it into balance, a perspective shift. And I'm hearing something about cognitive dissonance and awareness, consciousness vibrations, shifting those to that higher vibration, to the acceptance of self, because acceptance then leads to love, unconditional love at a later stage of its development. Trust issues also seem to be a theme here. So being able to trust the self is the foundation upon which you'll be able to trust others, and how to navigate trusting others by trusting your intuition. Okay, I'm going to leave the reading here. Group number 2, I hope this was helpful. Just take what resonates and leave the rest. If you feel called to another group, feel free to check that out as well. And if not, we'll see you in the next one. Bye. All right, hi group number 3. Welcome to your reading. You chose the World card, and I included this one, or chose this card to represent the Horned God here because it does depict Pan, as you see here, which is one of the associations with the Horned God. So there's something about your nature that the Horned God wants you to look at, principles of your nature. And I'm being shown guidance received by you, and it's felt and it's lived through your gut and through your experience. There's a wealth of knowledge within you based on the places you've been, the world that you've created for yourself, the worldly knowledge that you've gained through life, and the experience that you have at a soul level as well, which shouldn't be discounted. If anything, it should be relied upon more heavily, if anything. There's magic here that's at play in your life regarding some sense of fulfillment and how that's connected to the completion of a cycle. And I'm hearing in a roundabout way. I'm being shown a cul-de-sac on a street, like a roundabout. And so going around in circles isn't necessarily a bad thing here. It's a sense of returning back to where you once were, but with a greater sense of where you need to be. You could be turning something around in your life, and I'm hearing, oh, how the tables have turned. Things have changed. You've changed. And your perspective on the world and life in general seems to have changed quite drastically. And I'm hearing within the last year, so the last year of your life may have been pivotal in some way in changing this perspective or creating a narrative shift, because you've gotten to some level of completion. And I'm hearing the word anecdote, an example, something about an example or an anecdote for life that you have created or combined, I'm hearing combined, into your being. Something about a mishmash is coming through, and the cauldron here, and something about feet. Well, Pan has hooves, not feet, but there's a connection to measurement as well. Measuring the ingredients that go into the cauldron that create this soup of life and how each aspect affects the others. And there's something of an entourage effect where each individual aspect or ingredient greatly enhances the whole, and the whole works to better, I'm hearing to better, I meant to say together, to much improved effect because of the way that the ingredients interact. So there could be, I'm being shown a round table, like King Arthur's round table, the Knights of the Round Table, and something about a council, a group, togetherness, and creating something for the ages or for the long term, something that's meant to last more than a lifetime, but I was going to say a lifetime. Perhaps it's even meant to be shared with the world, and that's how it continues to persist past your own lifetime, like a legacy of sorts. But it doesn't feel like it's necessarily attached to you, so it's not like the legacy is something that is associated with you individually or your identity. It feels more like something that has been created through you and a group of other people. And so the energetic push comes from this set group, but the outcome is not necessarily affiliated or associated with that group, whatever that means. So it's almost like anonymously creating something, putting it out there, and having that create some kind of a world shift or create some kind of an impact long term to have that ripple effect. And I'm hearing common good. And then I heard acts of the gentlefolk. And it's reminding me of the quote from, I think it's either The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings, but Gandalf says it. I'm going to paraphrase it. It's not acts of great power by kings and noblemen that will counter the evil in this world. It is small acts of kindness by gentlefolk. That's not, I'll put the actual quote here up on the screen so you can see it in Tolkien's words rather than mine, but that was my equivalent of it. Putting my stamp on it. And I think this is what you're doing. You're kind of putting your stamp on the world. Maybe you're telling your story in some way, but indirectly. And it does have a positive impact. It does have or create that ripple effect. And there's a conclusion that comes from this, a sense of conclusion or coming to a conclusion, because of the way that you're able to understand the nature of shifts across time and the impact that learning and experience and wisdom and then sharing or embodying that wisdom has on the collective mind or the group that you're associated or affiliated with. And I almost wanted to say directly or indirectly. And I'm hearing something about a bigger and better plan and making shifts for the future and coming back around to something that you once wanted to complete but didn't necessarily get a chance to. Nessus, is that the name of some Greek god in the pantheon? I'm not sure. Nessus. I'd have to look that up as well. And that was kind of the sense I was getting. It's like mythology. Who wrote mythology? It's just part of the collective consciousness now. It's not necessarily associated with one individual. Maybe some tales would be, or they could be interpreted, but it's almost like public domain. So whatever it is that you're creating, it's not about you or the group of people that is creating it. It's about what it becomes and how accessible it is to the consciousness or to the collective mind, to the consciousness of humanity, to this planet, to this world. And from that, it will, I'm hearing garner and something about garland. Jennifer Garner is also coming through. Maybe the name Jennifer is significant. But it does garner some results. And the laurel wreath I'm being shown as well. And we see here this wreath, but the laurel, specifically laurel wreaths, are associated with victory, success, and crowning achievements. So it feels like this is the crowning achievement of a lifetime and or a lifetime's worth of work. But the principles that drove you to this and the associations you made along the way that have helped lead you in this direction are guided by the divine. And in some ways, the horned God that lives within you as you is helping you to better understand the nature of humanity and the principles of human consciousness or the collective consciousness, and how perhaps stories or myths and legends impact that consciousness or allow it to express itself and understand itself better. Something about national integrity is coming up, and I'm being shown the cover image of the movie National Treasure. National integrity. But this, we're looking at the world and something about on the world stage. Actually, the technical quote from Spirit was on the world's stage, plural, worlds. And now I'm questioning in my mind, are we saying world apostrophe S as in the worlds in its possessive form? Or are we talking about world, no apostrophe S, as in multiple worlds? I'm not going to answer that, but it feels like the world is waiting. And it's ready. It's finally ready for whatever it is that you're delivering, whatever message you came to compute within yourself and to compassionately share. It's not something that goes lightly, but I'm also being shown books on a shelf. So it could be something to do with literature, storytelling, publishing, or at a higher dimensional level, books and bookshelves remind me of the Akashic record. That mass universal domain of thought and memory of experience, the Akashic blueprint of all things, that sort of collective black box, if you will. So let's get, oh yeah, there, an animal for you. As a guide, you have the crow coming out here in reverse. All right, spirituality, strong. Sorry, it actually says spiritually strong, but spirituality seems to be a theme here, or it could be. Spiritually strong, creative, and watchful. The crow has long been a symbol of magic. A crow personality is drawn to the I'm hearing surprising, but it says supernatural, and has a gift for seeing the unseen, knowing the unknown. And I'm hearing something about foreseen, perhaps prophetic knowledge, wisdom, or constructs that are expressed through dreamlike realities, Neptunian imaginings, and creative pursuits. Okay, so it says, it is said that the crow holds within its mind. Why am I having such a difficult time reading this? Reading, writing, comprehension. Something about that may have been a skill building thing for you over this lifetime, creating or increasing that muscle. It is said that the crow holds within its mind's eye the three realities: past, present, and future. Crow energy is potent and should only be tapped into when the mind is clear. Those with crow tendencies must balance their lives with a healthy diet, joyful friends, and regular self-study. When in balance, the crow is psychic, strong, and clear. When out of balance, it can become ungrounded or hypersensitive. To bring it into balance, daily meditation practice. And I also just remembered, because it's been a day since I filmed group number 1 and the intro for this reading, but what actually prompted this reading, if you stayed for the intro, was the caw of a crow. So that feels significant. If you didn't listen to that little story on the synchronicities that led to the inspiration for this video and the message from the Horned God, then check that out. It's pretty short, but it feels connected, so I did feel like I needed to mention it. And again, it's kind of like coming full circle. Maybe you didn't listen to the intro and you're here in the last group, and now you're circling back to the intro again, which is very much what the world talks about, cycling back to the beginning again. So I will leave the message there. I hope that it proves fruitful for you over the long term, for the blessings of the collective and the greatest and highest good of all. I love you guys. Messengers of the divine, I just heard, okay? Messengers of the divine. May you be blessed in your workings of light. Much love, many blessings. We'll talk to you guys next time.